Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome back to another episode of Only Dead Fish Go with the Flow. Today's guest is Tess Howard, Olympic and England field hockey player, and the founder of inclusive sportswear that's changing how athletes feel in their own bodies. We are diving into sports participation, body image, sports kit, and the statistics surrounding youth dropout, asking why so many people fall out of love with sport and what needs to change in order to help them stay in the game. Now, before we start, have you liked and subscribed? Because you are really important, especially to me, and especially when you like and subscribe. So I'll just wait here until you have. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to your weekly reminder that only dead fish go with the flow. This week, I have a special guest, and it's quite a long intro list, and I've got this straight from Inclusive Sportswear website. But we have founder and director, Olympian, MBE, Sunday Times game changer, Commonwealth gold medalist, Tess Howard.
That's quite funny. Thanks.
So welcome to the podcast.
The ones that people forget. Good hugger, Taylor Swift fan.
I think those are quite important ones to remember. I think there'll be quite a few.
Well, on my LinkedIn, the last thing I say is I'm a dance enthusiast, because I think if you don't have something that's a little bit like personable on there, then it's just dead.
Well, it's like, where does ChatGPT start and where does the individual begin? It's just a minefield.
It starts and ends with semicolon, to be honest.
Speaking of that, recently in the village we've just moved into, they have a magazine about their village. It comes out every month. And I tell you a fact, they have never used ChatGPT in their life. It is just, as soon as they think of something, it goes down in that little magazine, and it is phenomenal.
That's fantastic.
It's a very, very good read if you are bored. But welcome to podcast. You are also, your sport is hockey. So would you name and explain hockey and how you got into it, really?
Yeah, hockey is a sport with a stick, a hockey stick. It's like football with sticks, no offside. And I started playing it when I was 10 or 11. I started off playing rugby following my brothers, and then girls couldn't play rugby anymore because that was the rule.
Because
because they didn't know that the World Cup was happening in 2024 or 5, last year. And so I switched rugby ball for a hockey stick, and then have not looked back since. It just sort of captured my imagination, the team aspect, the passion and like the technical and the tactical. It just sort of had everything for me. So I was lucky that my school had an Astro, and I was able to play. And then fast forward, and I had my senior debut at 19, and then I've been in the team since. I'm 27 now.
I had a very, very brief experience of hockey at secondary school. It was absolutely mortifying. They were doing like a PE thing, and where they take video and do video analysis. Anyway, there's a ball on the floor, and I went up to it with a stick, and I swing the stick back, ready to hit the ball, and I just don't even hit the ball, just swing it all the way through, and the video is just me landing completely flat on my ass, ready for PE analysis the next day. And I was just like, oh my God. And they did one better. They played it in slow-mo for the class as well. And I was like, do you know what? Maybe hockey or ball sports are just not really for me.
It's tough at the start, and then once you get into it, it sort of comes second nature.
I think that's what they think about all sports is, tough, but then it becomes very poetic and easy.
Yeah, well, I love it as well because you can play at all ages, and we have a masters team that's like 70, 80-year-olds, and they're still having fun. So that's quite fun.
And the other part of your life is Inclusive Sportswear.
Yeah, Inclusive Sportswear is a non-profit organisation that I've set up last couple of years, been building, and its aim is to make sure that no one drops out of sport because of sports kit or body image concerns. And so we have been on a mission to change school, club and governing bodies policies to make sure that they're inclusive based on choice. And that's what I had to do in my own sport. And I thought why not create an organization to help do it in all other sports as well?
Why stop at one when I've got all this momentum and, I've got all this energy, I'll direct it everywhere. You can all have a bit.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like I'm giving a lot of energy to a lot of places, but it's been nice to see something that I believe in come to life. That's, to be honest, I don't really think about it too often because you're just kind of trying to make sure that it continues. So you never count your chickens before they hatch. But I feel like now I can see that it's making a big impact, and it's a real thing now, which is cool. It's not just like on my mind map drawing.
On your, what is it, a vision board that everyone does now, where they like print a load of pitch stuff and it's like,
Yeah,
this
I
is
had
gonna
one.
be.
I had one. I'm that
Did
kind
you?
of person. Yep. Barack Obama, the 2016 Rio Olympic team, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Taylor Swift. That's my vision board.
It's got range. It's giving range. What does, like, with those two things in mind, like, elite level hockey and inclusive sportswear, what does a week look like for you with training and balancing that?
Sure. Well, it's Monday, Tuesday, heavy training. Wednesday is my inclusive sportswear day, which is also our day off from hockey, and then Thursday, Friday training again. And then I kind of just fit in, I suppose, another day of work sort of in and around training, because we don't obviously, we're not on the pitch 100% of the time of the day, but the day could look like 9 till 4, or it could be 11 till 5. It varies, so it's just sort of fitting in bits and pieces as I can. And then we have tournaments throughout the year, so kind of making sure that the tournaments are the times that I really focus on hockey, and obviously on the training days, but then we have downtime and able to fit in things in around. But some days are much busier than others, that's for sure.
Like, some days I've got to cram a podcast at the end of the day.
That's enjoyable.
Actually, what is it? It's Wednesday today, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So actually, I've got you on your day off, so I've done quite well. When I like talk to people in a sport that I've never done, I'm gonna say that time that I fell on my ass playing hockey in secondary school counts as never having done hockey. But like, do you do weights? Is there a lot of do you do external fitness apart from like specific, I would say, like, work on the pitch? What does that look
That's
like?
good. Yeah, exactly. We have 2 gym sessions a week, and we have speed and sort of endurance training as well. We tend to have 4 to 5 on pitch hockey sessions, and then as I say, gym, and then we have a lot of like psychology and team meetings, tactical stuff throughout the week. So a typical day would look like gym in the morning, then a meeting, and then on the pitch, and then maybe a meeting afterwards. So yeah, it depends on the day, but it's sort of very much like a full-time job, but in like a nice way. In a nice way, you're on your feet the whole time.
I asked because we would do, like, obviously not pitch sessions, but we would do water sessions, which is our equivalent, if you like, and then we would also do gym work on like static bikes and ergos, and then we would also do lifting. So I would always sort of split our training into like 3 different sections. So I always find it really interesting to hear about how other sports split their sport up, if that makes sense. And I don't know, when you're on like Instagram or TikTok and like sport specific training comes up and it's like skiers bouncing on what looks to me like a trampoline, I'm like, oh, I wonder what else is there, like a niche thing that other sports do. And in my dream world, someone might be listening and they'll be like, oh, I really want to give that a go. And that sounds like something that would really appeal to me. Do you have a sort of best and a worst part of hockey?
Yeah, I think remote training running is probably the worst part.
I would definitely agree with you on that one.
When you've got a week off and you're set, you're running, it's it's much harder than the hockey sessions. Well, it's obviously less exciting. You play hockey or a team sport because you love that sort of element of it. And I'd say the best part of it. Oh, by the way, I still do the running. It's just less enjoyable.
Like, hands up, I do it, I promise.
Yeah. The best part, I'd say, I love technical training. I'm a real nerd for like the precision of hockey. And it's in some way you see footballers who can do 100 keepy uppies, and that's sort of like they're playing the sport for fun before they go and play a match. That sort of stuff is my favorite part. I love shooting, and I'm a forward, so goal scoring is my passion. I enjoy like the nerding out of that sort of stuff. And like small sided games that are all to do with shooting is really fun.
I have to ask before you go on to, well, actually, yeah, it's my question next anyway, but I have to ask, have you watched any of the heated rivalry stuff, which is obviously ice hockey, but is different, but my For You page is absolutely rammed with ice hockey at the moment, and the skill, which I assume is quite similar to hockey, the skill with the ball or the skill with the puck is outrageous. Like, I've seen so many like different trick shots, and I'm like, I was only really watching this for the romance element, but now
I've heard. Yeah, that's it. And I think it's so high speed hockey, and field hockey you can only use one side of the stick, so it's sort of a little bit different, but it's still so quick. And yeah, if that's why I think hockey, if it's kind of classic, if you start playing hockey, you will always play hockey, because you kind of get addicted to that, and at any level you can have excitement over the stick skills. It's really fun.
It's currently my new obsession. My husband's just got back from training camp, and it's all I'm talking about. Do you have a sporting ick? It could be specific to hockey, or it could be just in general.
Well, hockey has a few icks. If you double glove, it's quite icky.
Ooh.
So you normally only wear a left-hand glove, but there's this thing that if you wear a right-hand glove, you're just strange. So that's a bit of an ick. And I'd also say, like, so you wear gum shields the whole time, and I think there's just a lot of icks that can come with like putting your gum shield in the wrong place, or like holding it out when it's just, there's a lot going on there. And then I think from an actual playing perspective, when I mean just like you say, like you fall over all the time, and I think that the funniest thing is a swing and a miss. And I've done plenty in my life, but I sometimes ick myself out when I when I swing and miss. I did we had a 2-week break over Christmas, and I came back and I did this full body dive and completely missed the ball, and we all just, like, in the middle of the session, just had to stop and burst out laughing, because we were just like, what? You're an Olympic athlete and you've just done that. That's appalling. But yeah, I think the biggest one's double gloving.
Double gloving. I was going to say, are there any tips asking for a friend to like walk off or like keep it cool after you have swung and missed the ball very dramatically?
Yeah, well, I used to do judo when I was younger, so I kind of judo roll out of any falls. And I
Very
sort
cool.
of style it out. I do that if I dive anyway. It's a water-based pitch, so there's a lot of diving for shots and things like that, and it's one of my specialties. And if I dive, I have to judo roll out of it. So if I do it wrong, it's fine. Just roll out of it. It's chill.
It's all about how you get up from said dive. Dying on the hill, I've written similar. I think you've actually been quoted, probably by the BBC, but saying that it's actually quite a simple issue, and you just want it, like, basically everyone to get over, like, make the change and get over it. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I forgot that I said that, but I'm really glad that I did.
It's something like get over it, or like let's all just get over it and live our lives. Yeah, that was it. But would you like to introduce it a bit more professionally than that?
Yeah. Well, it starts with hockey, and in hockey you could only wear skirts to play, and we trained in shorts every day, and you didn't have the choice. And so in relation to that quote, why can't we just have choice and move on with move on with our lives, just crack on? But the real issue is that it relates to participation and enjoyment in sport. And very scarily, 64% of girls leave sport at 16, and a third of them leave because of kit. And you think that, like, that's something that we can solve. We can solve it through policy and practice. So I've tried to humanize it all by saying it's just a pair of shorts, or it's just a pair of leggings, or it could be, if you want to wear the skirt, is what allow them to wear the skirt is. It's choice and comfort prioritizes over sort of traditions and norms that have been given to us from decades of patriarchy and just tradition. And so at the end of the day, it was just a pair of shorts that I wanted to wear, but I had to go through this whole campaign. I had to write a paper, I had to get published, I had to campaign for the Federation of International Hockey to change it, stand up to my teammates. Turns out half of them also wanted to wear shorts, so that wasn't as hard as I thought. Be brave and put yourself out there, and then just move on. go solve the next issue, because it's one of those issues that doesn't need it doesn't need massive change. It's really small, but it will make a massive difference, and then we can go and solve the other issues that really do matter. And it's not to say that kit doesn't matter, because it does. It can be the difference between someone playing and not, as the evidence shows from the statistics. It's just that it's a barrier that has no reason to be there, and so that's why I'm so passionate about changing it. And it's the hill that I will die on.
It's funny, because when I started this podcast in May of 2025, I was talking with Lola, and she was talking about sports bras and how impactful sports bras are on, like, her performance as a Olympic rower. But also at the same time, and I'm trying not to butcher this, I'm looking at the word in my brain, but the camogie skirts and shorts was happening. So it's and I think the organisation banned them from playing, or they basically, there was a penalisation because people were like, yeah.
And they were forced to change in the semi-final of the Camogie Championships. And the thing is that they had written to Camogie Association asking for the right to wear shorts and to have choice, just like hockey has. And Camogie put it to a vote, of which it was not successful. And the vote was only within the board. So the players, 90% of the players wanted choice. So it wasn't a player decision, it was a board decision. And in the bylaws, they couldn't debate it for another 2 years. So the only thing they could do was protest. And so they turned up to the semi-finals in shorts and were told by the umpire to go and get changed, otherwise they would boycott. They would have to leave the match. So they all changed. And then the amazing thing is that the two sides that were in the final both wrote saying, we will turn up in shorts and we will play. And the Camogie Association wrote back, if you turn up in shorts, you're not playing. So the final was postponed because no agreement was reached. Then, because the whole of the Irish press and the UK press got behind it, and frankly the world press, Camogie Association were putting on so much pressure that they had to finally agree to the players. And it was so fun. I was interviewed a few times for it because it paralleled hockey, and I'd met a lot of the camogie players who were fighting for it online, and was trying to help them with the language and all of the data and everything. But isn't that so funny? And that's exactly why I wanted to create Inclusive Sportswear, because that shouldn't be a player boycotting. It should just be normal, and Camogie Association should just go get on with their lives.
I feel like that's going to be your, when we get to life advice or mantra, be like, go get on with your lives and stop worrying about shorts.
I want to get on with my life as well.
It's so funny because, like you say, when people, like, if your training kit is actively shorts and then you're like wearing something completely different for competition. I know this is sort of revisiting what me and Lola were saying, but like the last thing you want to be thinking about when you're competing is what you're wearing, and you don't want to be like running around just like thinking about that when you can like just wear your shorts that you train in all the time. Which, because are you issued shorts like for GB hockey or England
For
hockey to
training,
train
yeah,
in?
we
So it's
are.
just
And
like
yeah, exactly.
it's like it's less cost for the the thing just to let you wear your shorts anyway. So I think me and Lola at the time were laughing about it. That was our contribution to it. We were talking about bras, but
Lola
this
is a
is
great person as well. She's always been behind the movement.
yeah, she's a keen advocate for just let me wear what the fuck I need to. We've been through a few stats as well, but do you have any stats from basically your research that you'd be keen to sort of get out there?
So the project for understanding why girls drop out of sport and is it because of kit started with my undergrad dissertation, and the stat that kind of brought everybody's attention to it was I did a retrospective study of 400 women, and over 70% of them said that they'd seen girls drop out of sport because of sports kit and body image concerns. And that was a really interesting one because it was retrospective, but that's a significant number of women saying when I was at school, I saw people completely leave sport because of it. And so that kind of started to raise the ante of how much of an issue this was. And then last year, I did a project with ASICS to look at recreating PE kit with the Inclusive Sportswear Charter as the focus of the whole thing. So if you took the charter principles, enable participation and enjoyment, comfort, practicality, choice and empowerment, identity expression and collaboration. If you took those principles and you made it into a PE kit, what would it look like? And obviously ASICS are one of the best brands out there for sort of performance items. So they made probably the most high-tech PE kit ever made. But it was really simple, and they used Burnley High School girls to collaborate on this, and they inputted in all of it. And we made sure it was all within the guidelines of what schools are allowed to do in terms of the government and policies and things. And it was really simple, but it was really effective. And they did some research before and after the project, and they found that 75% of girls would enjoy PE more if they had more comfortable kit. And I really enjoyed that statistic because we wanted to find out what the margins would be. So there's participation, yes, it's whether or not she plays, but then you're talking about a much larger percentage of girls who would actually enjoy physical activity more. And I think that one meant a lot to me because that's how I felt. I wasn't going to stop playing hockey because of the sport, but I was deeply uncomfortable. And so it felt like that stat represented me. And then Youth Sport Trust, is my school partner for Inclusive Sportswear. They did some research and found that 58% of girls wanted more choice in school. And that was really powerful because it just shows that it's not like a magic bullet. It's just choice. It's like it doesn't have to be something crazy. So from that, we've created sort of really easy principles. And the number one thing is choice. But what does that look like? Most often it's choice on the lower half. So that's shorts, leggings, tracksuits, skirts, whatever makes them feel comfortable, but you choose a colour. So now schools can design their PE kit policies and they don't have to worry about the bottom half because they say, wear anything navy or black on the lower half. We don't mind what it is, as long as you feel comfortable. We're going to put you in a breathable top, spend maybe a little bit more on the top because they don't have to worry about the bottom half. Get a really high quality, durable top that's a round neck so you don't have any sensory issues. Dark coloured to avoid the sports bra being shown. And there's your PE kit. So simple, but really effective. And we move away from the traditional ideas. And I think that the layering of the stats really show the impact. And my final favorite one, it's not really a favorite, I hope it changes, but 3/4 of girls don't feel confident in their PE kit. And that one really hits because the confidence, the enjoyment, all linked to them participating. And also their relationship to their body, and therefore long-term relationship to their mental health, physical health. And so we're talking about, that's why I say we need to move on with our lives, because the people who don't have confidence or body image issues because of PE kit are then freed up to go and enjoy activity. And so then the resources available to help people who struggle not based on PE kit are much higher. So it's all a public health discussion. If you change something really simple at the bottom, then you sort of start to filter out what are the other issues that we've got going on, and we can tackle those.
I can see your love for data starting to shine through. Like he's saying, oh yeah, I love the tech, or I love the, stuff on the hockey pitch. It's not being left on the hockey pitch. It's definitely filtering through. I think it's really important, like when I'm doing these podcasts, when people have stats and data, I feel like the information is much easier to understand. When you're talking to coaches and stuff, it's easier to say, well, actually the statistic is, or if you've got junior women listening and they want to then change something at their club or their school or whatever, they can use your numbers effectively, or inclusive sports website, and actually be like, well, there are statistics for this, and this is why I feel like this. Maybe the older coaching generation respect the numbers more than opinions, rightly or wrongly, but at least we can give them numbers, which I'm not great with numbers, but I think it's
massive.
Good.
I wrote an opinion piece, my first ever article in 2022 for The Telegraph, and it was all sort of opinion, and I was an undergrad. My paper hadn't been published yet, and I thought this was going to be the thing that solved everything. I hadn't won anything, and it was just an opinion. No one really cared. So then after I was fortunate to win the Commonwealth Games, I suddenly had a medal and I was publishing my paper, and suddenly put those two together, and it's an academic and a medalist,
backed.
And people cared. So it's really interesting. I've learned a lot about how narratives get played out, and the effect of what do you push. I used to push patriarchy and feminism, and I've just left that behind, even though that's very important. It's not what changes the dial anymore, and it's more important to lead with logic and maybe a bit of care. And so you have to humanize it. So you humanize it by talking about somebody who has left sport because she couldn't wear leggings, or she leaked when she was on her period and has never gone back to netball. Those things. That's a story that people care about. You back it up with science and data, and then you give them the logical solution. Create inclusive PE kit policy that's based on choice. And then it's what I've seen is that people just follow the logic and they get to the same conclusion that I've got to. But that's also like a very academic way of doing it, but it's worked.
It's a good point that like patriarchy and feminism as two brackets, at times have had quite a negative brains off before you've even started speaking. And I've said this before on the podcast, it's not a man-hating podcast, as somebody was quoted saying once, that it was just a men-bashing podcast. It is actually about, the fundamentals of sport, which is team, but also, information and communication and helping other people. But yeah, it is team effort.
It was also interesting because I started in girls, and that's what my paper was on. But in creating inclusive sportswear, I wanted to make sure that every single group of demographic was looked after, because every group has its own issues. And I've just finished the men and boys section and published that on the website. And I don't think people would be expecting that would be a section. But some really scary statistics about the state of men's mental health and its relation to teenage boys feeling they have to look a certain way. And I was really struck by what I found, especially through data from Movember. And body image anxieties are very high in young males. And even talking to my boyfriend about it, he said that he had a lot of difficulty finding shorts that he could play hockey in because they were all made for like really small runners. And so if you're a hockey player and you've got like quads and you're trying to do really athletic movements, that's really restricting. And so it's not necessarily going to deter them from playing, but it's an impact on enjoyment for sure. But then what does a PE kit look like for a boy? We speak so much about girls' PE kit, but for a boy, choice is just as important. Actually, a quarter of boys said that they wanted more options. That's still a lot of people wanting more options. And there's, the rate of puberty difference for teenage boys is really large. It's the same, as girls. It varies, and you could have a growth spurt, or you could be having acne on your arms. There are loads of different things, and offering the opportunity to wear a long sleeve or wear tracksuits if that's more comfortable for you really supports those people as well. And we've done a lot of work with neurodiversity and disability and race and religion, and that's inclusive sportswear. I felt like it couldn't be one thing, and so that's where choice, the narrative of choice and inclusion, came from, as opposed to being a teen girl project, because it goes across a lot more. And it's really humbled me understanding that the differences in needs, but sort of the unity and the need for the same policy.
We've met so many different people through the podcast, and the connecting factor, like you said, the connecting factor in this section is choice, but the connecting factor in all of these other people that I've met is sport. And it always is like the key themes of teamwork. Choice obviously factors. Not everybody's, outside of schools, not everybody's kit is policed in such a similar way. We always have much more in common with people than we realize that we do. And it's when you're like, oh, we don't see, not even that we don't see eye to eye, but we're experiencing different things. There is always a common ground or a common denominator or whatever it is.
To break the ice, in some of the workshops that I do, I say, well, what would you like to run a marathon in skinny jeans? People would go, hell no. Like, well, that's basically it. That's problem solved.
Not. I mean, I'm coming from a sport where, for like safety, we are in skin tight lycra. But also with rowing, people start a lot later, and puberty is definitely a thing for those that have just started. But it's not something that you would maybe necessarily be able to wear baggy-ish stuff in. So there is limited choice, I think, in that, because of its safety. But that's not to say that you can't be in whatever colour that suits you, or as long as it sort of fits the safety guidelines.
Yeah, that was the big thing. Developing the PE kit policy was making sure that safety and those things were taken into consideration, particularly with like hoodies and hijabs and thinking about headwear, but then also an element of smartness and what that meant to the school. And so we found what's actually been really interesting is, by doing the top half more uniform, but allowing layering, so wearing undergarments, as opposed to offering loads of different lower half items, just sort of focusing on the top half, and then allowing whatever sort of dark colored item on the bottom. The sort of smartness actually maintains really well, and there's really great stats that 80% of people who who are in teams don't think that wearing different lower half items means you're less of a team. I really love that one because it just shows that unity, team belonging can be as simple as a top half item. It doesn't have to mean everything. And quite often at puberty level, it's the lower half that is the most difficult.
Strugsies, for sure. Do you have a favourite moment? This could either be a hockey moment, or this could be inclusive sportswear moment, or you could have two.
I'll share it. One of my favourite moments is I went up to a hockey game last year and played a match. It was really stressful. We scraped the win. And after the match, I saw a player from the second team walk on. She was in shorts with a Mizuno logo on them. These don't look like Mizuno shorts, but I'll just go over. The whole kit was this brand. And I went over and I was like, "Oh, you're wearing shorts. That's amazing." And she kind of was a little bit taken aback, but I was so excited. But I said, "Do you mind sharing the story of how it happened?" And she said that this pair of shorts she had made herself. And I didn't realize that, but she had taken the club badge off the skirt and the logo and sewn them herself onto a pair of shorts that she had bought from a high street retailer. And my heart just sank at the same time as being elated. It was such a weird feeling that this girl felt so inspired that she could wear what she wants, but her club didn't support what the club supported her wearing them, but they didn't have.
They didn't supply.
Yeah,
they didn't supply the kit.
So I said, "Oh well, if you need anything, let me know. I hope your club can support. Please share them about Inclusive Sportswear, etc." Then I went to do a talk earlier this year, and just so happens that somebody from that club was at the talk, came up to me afterwards and said, "Do you remember that girl that you spoke to?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said that she had, after we had chatted, gone to the welfare officer and said, I really would like some proper shorts. And she this 16-year-old led the whole change for that club. And now there are so many other people wearing shorts there, and she has her very own pair of shorts. And that means so much to me, because this little girl she shouldn't have to do that, but she's gone out of her way to do that, and now she gets to play week in, week out in a pair of shorts and ones that actually she didn't have to sew. So that's a very special moment, and I have quite a few moments of that from different clubs across the country where these people have found some sort of agency, I suppose, and claimed their right to wear shorts and then moved on with their lives.
When I looked that up and I saw it, I just thought that was so funny, because it's exactly, how I think everyone feels about it. Well, why not? And then let's get over it, because none of us want to hang about wondering about a wardrobe issue. There's nothing worse than wondering about what you're going to wear. So at least make it something that I would like to wear. And then, yeah, let's all get on with our lives. That is a really lovely one. And I can't even begin to imagine how I've had a few people write into the podcast, but to see that in sort of real life is a really magical thing. And I think you're very, very lucky to have got to experience that, because that is very beautiful. Do you have a best fuck up to bring you back down to earth?
Oh, that's funny. Well, what kind? I mean, I've had many hockey fuck ups, that is for sure. I've had a lot of, yeah. I mean, if you don't make mistakes, you're not doing the right thing. Gosh, where to start now? I'm the kind of person that if you ask me about my mistakes, all I think about are my mistakes. I think probably just to keep it on the track of shorts. I think my biggest mistake at the start was writing that article with the title, and this is quite a catchy title, "Hyper-feminized and impractical uniforms are putting girls off sport." No one knew what hyper-feminized meant, and sort of really belaboring the point about this is a feminist sort of mission. But in all good fuck ups, it leads to, realization. In terms of a hockey fuck up, I'm now like, my brain is thinking about all the moments at the Olympics.
You're now reliving, and you're going to struggle to go to sleep tonight.
I am. I'm like, this is not good for my mental health. As a team, and as my own experience. Okay, well, I'm gonna give one at under 16 level. I feel that's easier for me to talk about.
That's safe.
Under 16, biggest fuck up, probably losing to the Dutch 9-0 in the semi-final. And yeah, in my senior career, I've also lost 8-0, but the under 16 one, we weren't even close. We were just sort of, it was like Roger Federer playing against, one of us. Like, it was sort of, you didn't even touch the ball. It was just kind of, it's just kind of watch and admire. And we just participated we fulfilled our duty of being present, and that's for sure.
You're like watching the players go past, like, you're doing amazing.
Yeah. That was a tough dinner that night.
Do you have a dinner after every match?
Yeah, well, these sorts of like tournaments, we have dinner all together, but we wouldn't eat with them.
Just quietly slurping your soup, like.
Yeah.
Always humbling when you go to an event and it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. And I've been
it's good Taylor Swift lyric as well.
Exactly, Taylor Swift. And I've been to some events before where, oh God, there was like event in maybe like 2017 or something, and Cambridge University were set off behind us in some rowing events. Like, it's a long distance and it's all done on time. We knew they were going off behind us, and we knew that they were really fast. And we were like, they're gonna overtake, but we just gotta stay in our bubble and just concentrate on what we're doing. And when they overtake, just don't even look at them. Don't even acknowledge that they've done it. And it worked really well, because obviously they went past, and then we, nobody lost any motivation because we knew it was going to happen. And we were aiming for like maybe a top 10 finish anyway. So it's like not too bad. But I remember them vividly going past, and the coxswain who's at the front of the boat being like, there goes Cambridge, we'll just let them go. And you're just there like, oh, brilliant. Maybe one day. That can be me one day.
The cox must be so fun.
I have coxed. I'm like way too tall. Like, we're doing this online, but I'm 6 foot tall, and a coxing seat in like this tiny little space, and I did cox. That was a pretty sketchy experience, because you've got to like be able to see over everyone and like round everything, and like you've got this little wire that you steer, and you're mic'd up.
Oh, they steer?
Yeah, they steer and they talk.
Oh, I thought they just talked.
No, they do both.
Well, now I think wow. I love hearing after the Olympics, the voiceovers that come out. Oh, they are amazing.
Obviously heard a lot of it in real time, and in real time I sort of get goosebumps, but then listening back to some, and then if they put like music on in the background, I'm just so emotional. But yeah, and also terrifying if you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah. Or like you're talking to a bunch of juniors and you're mic'd up and you're like, oh shit, fuck, like, and they were like, I think the advice or mantra that you were quoted in saying about getting on with your life is very good. But do you have any more specific quotes or things that you keep going back to with your training?
Yeah, if I split it out to my career, hockey career, as a player, my mantra has always been energy and passion, and that's the thing I've always fallen back on, and there's always been an element of like keenness. And when I was at school, sort of the non-official motto of my school was, "It's cool to be keen," and I think that sums me up to an absolute T for like my whole life. And whilst I try to separate hockey and like sports kit and stuff like that, I can't, because it's all just one massive keenness. And I think that I must have been about 15 where I sort of just succumbed to it, and I was just like, do you know what? I am that kid at the front of the class. Like I just am. I'm just gonna enjoy it.
I feel like you get on very well with one of the girls that came on, Franny. Her mantra was, "I'm just a chill girl, but I really want to do well."
Yeah, I love that.
And she came on, oh God, I can't remember, before Christmas, and we called the episode like Pussy Palace, but it's like a detailed explanation of her experience with getting the coil fitted and like all of the trauma that came along with it.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot to share with that. That's impressive.
Her best fuck up, any spoiler if anyone started on this podcast with Tess, but her best fuck up was her coach asked for some sun cream, or if anyone had any sun cream, and she was like, "Oh, I've got some sun cream," and threw him a bottle of sun cream, like one with like a squirty gun, if that makes sense. And she didn't realise that her red lacy thong had wrapped itself around the gun part of the sun cream, and she threw that at her coach as well.
I didn't know that was the vibe of fuck ups we were going. I have a whole other bucket of things.
Well, if you want to add another one in, you're more than welcome to.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was her best fuck up, was throwing her knickers at a coach by accident.
Who's not been there?
What was it? I think we did like, and what is your learning from this? And it's always keep your knickers in a separate pouch to your main bag.
Brilliant.
But do you have one key takeaway from all of this that you would, if someone was to like leave listening to this podcast, what is one thing you would hope that they would take away from it?
Well, I'll start as I mean to go on. Well, I'll end as I finish. I think that's what I was supposed to say.
Yeah,
that was a bit strange. I'll end as I started with Taylor Swift. So one of my favorite lines from the song Daylight is the end, and it's, "I want to be defined by the things that I love, not the things that I hate or I'm afraid of. The things that make me haunted in the middle of the night. I want to be defined by the things I love." And I love that quote, and I play the song just to hear that end bit, because whilst I've fought so hard for things, the thing that I want to be defined by is the love of sport and keeping people playing, and I hope that rings true in the episode.
I like that a lot. I'm actually, hands up, not a huge Taylor Swift listener.
That's all right. Listen to the end of Daylight though.
Okay, I'm putting that on my list of to-dos.
And that's the quote.
I will listen to that right now. My final question is, I don't know if you've already answered this, but do you have a soundtrack for the week?
I love Benson Boone. I love Taylor Swift. I love Sia. To be honest, but I think like a soundtrack to the week or to my life would have to be like Sister Act and Sound of Music. I'm a real musicals sort of person, and I think I somewhat live my life as if I think it's a musical. So anything Hamilton, those sorts of things. So that is the soundtrack to my week, is pop and musicals.
My husband's answer was Zero to Hero by Hercules.
Love that.
And if he's like cooking, I will frequently walk in and there'll be like some sort of musical soundtrack on, and he'll just be like humming along to it.
Bless him. Well, then in spirit of choosing one song, I'd probably say then like Hamilton's My Shot, because that really gets me going. in the sense of I'm not throwing away my shot, and that's like my hockey shot. I have like one chance to shoot and score, and that's like very much. But then it's sort of much more general as well. I really like that one.
Fantastic. Well, that is the end of the podcast.
That was really fun. It's nice to dive into things in a different way. So
I'm good. I'm glad we've sort of hit all the different angles of shorts, inclusive sportswear, all of that. And if anybody is like listen to this and they want to find you and seek you out, where is the best place to find you?
yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram, Howard_Tess, or you can go straight to inclusivesportswear.com and check us out there. All the loads of resources on sports get there and all the stats you can ever want.
You're like, make sure you've got a notepad and pen because you will need to take notes.
Exactly.
Oh, perfect. Well, there we go. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. That was really fun. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode with Tess Howard of Only Dead Fish Go With The Flow. If you loved it and you can think of somebody that it's relevant to, then please send on. I'm a big believer that information should be easily accessible to anyone that might need it. You can follow more of our antics on Instagram at Only Dead Fish Podcast. We are also on TikTok, but you'll have to bear with me because TikTok is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Anyway, thanks so much for listening and chat next week. Bye.